Okay, here we go. 103, Tuesday, November 19th. Let's regroup. Why not? Are we doing Road Patrol Live later? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we need to take a break. I never thought that, but okay. All right, we're live in 2 minutes. We have a special guest this afternoon. Recently just won an election. And we are live. Okay. Yep. Okay. Look at that. How about all the people that are bailing off the platform of X, which we are right now? Very interesting, to say the least. Seems to be a pattern of who's bailing off. Yep. As far as I'm concerned, it does. I think it does. Seems to be. Yep. Oh, this is how clear that is. Yep. Of who's bailing off. Yes, they are. This will serve as the audio test. Yep. It will. As far as I'm concerned, it does. That's right. I think it does. Nice and clear on X. Oh, this is how clear that is. I'm not going to Blue Sky. Off. Yes, they are. I'm not going to Blue Sky. This will serve as the audio test. Yep. It will. As far as I'm concerned, it does. That's right. I think it does. Nice. All right. We're waiting for our cue, and we're going to begin. We are going to begin. Going to begin, excuse me. Just need Mr. JR to give me the cue. He's invaluable. Does splendid work at 106. There it is, folks. 106, sunny Tuesday. Another blue sky, November 19th. This is the real news. Now, right now, it's true. We're live, AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can watch on our Facebook page, which is the show page. You can also watch on YouTube, which continues to grow. Just hit 44,000 followers. The race is on for 50,000. And then also on X, of which I am not leaving, although a lot of people apparently, and members of the media are, which is a way of saying, here's the way I interpret that. That's many people's way of saying, I hate Trump, and Elon Musk is with him, so therefore I'm leaving as well. That's how I interpret it. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Check out their Facebook page. They do tremendous work. 1500 South County Trail. It's Watson Materials. This is the perfect time. They are the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Watson Materials, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials. Call them, request a quote, 401-885-0600, 401-885-0600 for Watson Materials. Now, remember, check out depetro.com. Houses all our information, links, has all video. Now, sometimes I write extensive articles on there, which I will be very soon. Many times it's just links so people can then see, such as the road patrol with the Cranston police. That was pretty wild the other night. The stabbing in Providence on Saturday night. We have that video. We have the Garden City incident. We have the stabbing on Federal Hill and a lot more, folks. It's all right there on the website, which is depetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, and the market is open. They're open 7 days a week. Perfect spot. Maybe you're, so there's Thanksgiving. Maybe you want to go out to eat on Thanksgiving, or maybe people come in town. You want to get a big group together. And I want to touch on that. Whenever, to me, the Cowesitting can accommodate, many times, there's there's an art to entertaining, and not everyone gets that. Not everyone understands that. What I like about the Cowesitting is, let's just say you have a good sized group. Well, you want to be in a place where people can talk. If you want to, get together, I think, maybe people you haven't seen in a while, where you could always all be in a group and then be able to kind of chat a little bit. There's always people that just don't understand the nature of entertaining and either go somewhere where it's way too crowded and then people can't be in a group, or it's just way too loud. The Cowesitting, they have the large bar area, and also, to eat, obviously, the Cowesitting, 226 Cowesett Avenue, West Warwick. Now, we have a guest coming up. Momentarily, he's going to join us. And I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly, because as someone that has an Italian last name, I believe his Greek last name, Chris Papalakis. He just won election in the city of Cranston. He is going to be a rep at the State House. We're going to meet him in just a moment. I reach out to sometimes people brand new elected into office. One person said, well, maybe down the road, I want to let things settle down a little bit. Well, maybe down the road, we're not going to want to talk to you. You talk when you're in the news. But I want to just touch on something. Because as much as there's a lot of talk, which the whole Raimondo thing, it's false. She has options. She has options. Whether you like her or not, doesn't matter. But there are people, she's never lost an election, but the idea that she's going to move back to Rhode Island and run for governor again, I believe very convincingly that is wishful thinking on behalf of certain people that are very self-serving. I'll tell you what that's really about in just a moment, but I do want to touch on. So this morning, I had a number of things going on, and I did have to meet someone in towards the Providence area. And folks, I'm not someone that has to deal with the bridge every day, thank God. But I could not get over the traffic today. And I'll tell you exactly what it was Rhode Island DOT. And I got to admit, I don't understand the mindset. But they were sweeping the high-speed lane with a like a street sweeper and the shoulder of the high-speed lane. 95 north this morning, I don't know what time, like 9:30-ish. My point is, so traffic was all cluttered, backed up. And then 95 south after that was like the roads, I can't get over how much the roads were a wreck. And I know some people may say, well, New York has traffic. Yeah, but this isn't New York. Well, you should see the traffic in LA. I've seen the traffic in LA. This isn't LA. I can name the cities that I've been to that have, incredible traffic. Boston's one of them. But also, I'd never seen traffic like Atlanta. And I lived in LA for summer. Dallas has bad traffic. Chicago, a lot of the major cities. But this isn't a major city. And I just to be clear, and then 95 South was a wreck. By the way, I don't know if people are saying avoid the mall. The mall exit is backed up because of the brush fire that was over there last night. So then the mall, the traffic on 95 South was backed up to try to get to the CCRI area in the mall. Absurd. But here's the thing about Rhode Island DOT. Couldn't that be done at night? I think, great, you're going to sweep the highway. Fantastic. Here's a thought. And you're going to do it between midnight and 4 a.m. I bet you could do a lot between midnight and 4 a.m. I mean, the vehicles they use are huge, and they're all lit up anyway. No, we think we'll do it post-morning drive. The traffic this afternoon will probably just be... I really think that it's impacted people. And the next election, which leads me to the election for governor, in which people will start announcing next year. It's not till 2026. But I believe, this is just my thought, I think anyone connected with the bridge is in trouble. And I think they're going to be asked some very difficult questions. And I think the voters are going to be very unforgiving, whoever it is. Because the latest I'm hearing now is now that Governor McKee may not run. And if he can't run and win, then organized labor who own him, they want someone who can run and win. So that's why then they float out, oh, maybe Gina can come back. She knows how to win. I'll tell you that, forget about the Republican side. And I've said I mean, it's nothing against Ashley Kalus personally. I just didn't think she was a great candidate. I don't think she ran a great campaign. She only wanted to go after Governor McKee alone. That's it, not the system. What you're seeing in Washington, and I think why the voters voted the way they is, government isn't working. And that's why people want and they see the new administration as disruptors. Folks, there is so much waste in government. And as I've talked about, there's so much waste in federal government, but you don't have to go that far. Just locally, they keep adding jobs at the Rhode Island State House. Do you know of any company, private sector, that keeps adding workers to do basically clerical type work? I don't, between AI and computers, it's way down the amount of workers you would think that they have. So I think I think people are looking for leadership. I think people are looking for new leadership. I think, and I also believe, boy, that second district, that is a flippable seat. Mayor Fung almost did it. Some things that need to change. Now, as I mentioned, there is going to be some new leadership. I was very happy for the individual that ran and won in Warwick. She ran in the past, and she ran a great race 2 years ago and lost a very close race, and then bounced back and then won. And she is Representative Marie Hopkins, and I'm very happy for her. But someone else who ran and won, and he's going to be new blood at the State House. And he represents Cranston. And this is our first time getting a chance to chat with him. And I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly, folks. The new representative in Cranston. And I want to pronounce it. It's Chris Papalauskas. Chris, welcome to the John DePetro Show. And why don't you tell me exactly how to pronounce your last name?
John, thanks for having me. A long-time listener, and I love your show as always.
Thank you.
I feel you're not that much older than me, but I feel like I grew up listening to you. So appreciate all your hard work over all of the years you've been doing it. But the way to say my last name, and it's not Greek. A lot of people think it's Greek. It's actually Lithuanian, but it's just like it's spelled, Paplauskis.
Paplauskis.
Okay. But, pretty much, unless you're a fellow Lithuanian, you don't know it's Lithuanian. Everybody thinks it's Greek, and that's fine. I tell everybody I'm half Greek.
First of all, Chris, congratulations. What do you think made the difference with your race?
Well, I think it was a couple of things. Obviously, we just went through a recount. It was a tight race. Won the election by 26 votes. I really think it came down to two things. I think walking the district and being on the city council for all the years that I've been on. And I have an excellent campaign manager. She's smart, savvy, wise beyond her years, and she's been a guest on your show in the past. Councilwoman Nicole Renzulli, one of my best friends. She worked her butt off to make sure that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, knocking on doors, doing what I had to do. And I was lucky to have her in my corner, and, going to give her a shout out on the show. And I appreciate all of her help to get across the finish line.
Chris, I'm curious, in walking the district and knocking on doors, what did you hear? I mean, you have there's concerns nationally, but I'm just worried. I'm curious, what concerns did you hear from the people? And when after a period of time, it starts to, a number of people keep saying the same type of issues. What are the concerns you heard from local voters?
Yeah, so I a majority of the things that I heard knocking on door really twofold, two issues. One, we have a state park in our district that needs some love and attention. In my eyes, it's kind of been neglected. Mechanic State Park, which is kind of a hidden gem over near Cranston West High School, and that's in District 15. So a lot of people use that park every day. So I got Mechanic Park a lot. Believe it or not, I would get the economy. People don't have the money in their pockets that they used to have 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. And, we all go grocery shopping on Sunday. I know I do it every Sunday for my family here. And I mean, it's getting harder and harder to fill that grocery cart. And you're making choices that you didn't have to make years ago on what you're buying for your family. And I think that's on a lot of people's minds. And it's sad to hear that.
That is a lot of that, unfortunately, is more impacted nationally. But I'm just curious, are there certain issues that you're anxious to get to the State House to talk about, that you feel, and you heard, more importantly, from your constituents, that these are issues that they want you to raise?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a lot of, I've always been that kind of councilman that, like to fix problems for people, trash cans, potholes, that kind of thing. And you get a lot of that knocking on doors still, even though you're running for a state office. So, all politics is local. But really, it was that economy. It was Mechanic Park. Occasionally, we had to get the George Washington Bridge. I know you were just talking about that a little while ago, and that's a hot topic. But not as much as you would think, because we're on this side. So, yesterday I had to go to East Providence for a doctor's appointment, and I had to deal with a little bit of traffic too. And I heard you talking about Providence today when you had to go. But really, it's economy, and it's fixing state roads or the state park that's in the district. I didn't get a lot of issues outside of that, believe it or not. So when a lot of people thought I was selling solar panels, knocking on doors, campaigning, because you got the solar guys out there, trying to change the world every day.
Yes. Now, Chris, I'm curious your thoughts. I think this bodes very well for you. You're going to be, new Republican at the Rhode Island State House, and you're talking about a lot of people, especially the media, are stunned. Two things. Number one, how well President Trump did in Rhode Island. That can't be denied. And number two, how well he did in the 2nd District. That was a really close race in Kent County alone. Harris won, by maybe like 1.5 points. That's going to be encouraging to you. You're coming from the only city that has a Republican mayor, and you're coming from the 2nd District, which certainly there's a lot of wind at your back of people that seemingly agree and want to support a lot of your positions.
Yeah, I think the trend is your friend. I mean, I'm happy to see that Republicans are picking up seats and winning. When I ran back 10 years ago to get on the city council, I ran in Ward 5. I was the first Republican to win the 5th ward in 74 years. It wasn't easy. I had to knock on doors, walk the ward almost 3 times. And I think once people, at least in my case, I think once they get to know who you are as a person, and listen, I just want to work hard and do what the people want. I'm a common sense guy. I deliver pizza a couple nights a week for Tommy's Pizza on Oak Lawn Avenue. I work for a sign company. I'm a blue collar guy. And then I got the city council job too. So I'm kind of, hustling 3 jobs to try to make things happen. And, I'm just a common sense guy. And I think people want common sense leadership, people that are going to, that struggle to go to the grocery store or know what the price of milk is. And that's what they want. And I think you saw those numbers in Rhode Island because of the economy. That's what I think anyways. I'm not an analyst or a specialist.
No, I understand. And Chris, again, you know what else is interesting about the bridge is Channel 10, they use the DOT camera. They have Governor McKeon once a month. But Dan Janik, to his credit, in the afternoon, they'll show that if you're going 95 north, the 195 traffic, it starts to back up to the Cranston line. So I think, the importance of the bridge, and especially being up for which you're going to be General Assembly on Smith Hill, it impacts quality of life. It erodes people's trust in government I think, and I won't keep you, but I think you're in a unique position because right now, many voters and commuters, but citizens feel that the state has let them down. And therefore, I think there's a great urgency for number one, accountability, and to try to rebuild that credibility that I think in many ways has been lost.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might be some systematic changes might have to be done. I mean, these departments get so big, so large. There's a lot of people working doing different things, and I'm not picking on DOT. They got a tough job. Everybody's got a tough job, but you think about this bridge, and then I remember growing up in Rhode Island, going over the old Jamestown Bridge as a kid, and you're sitting in traffic, and you're looking
Yeah.
out the window through the metal grates down at the ocean, going, "We haven't moved in 45 minutes." I see you laughing, but
Yeah.
as a kid, you were like, when are we going to get off this bridge? This bridge is rusty. It doesn't look safe. And then we built the
Right.
new Jamestown Bridge. So we need to stay on top of our infrastructure. And, we've done a good job of that here in Cranston over the last 10 years, working with, Mayor Hopkins and the leadership team here. And, hopefully we'll be able to turn the tide and make sure nothing like this happens again. But, I'm not looking to point fingers right out of the gate. I want to meet my colleagues, get to work. And just bringing the common sense and like you said, new leadership up to the State House, which I'm really enthusiastic and looking forward to do. It was a tough campaign, and I just want to get to work.
Folks, again, Chris Paplakis, and Chris, congratulations again. Thanks for coming on, and enjoy the victory. And then I'm sure we'll be talking to you as the session starts in January.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate everything you do, and hi to all your viewers, and especially the ones from Cranston, and I'll talk to you guys all soon. Thank you very much.
There we go. Congratulations, Chris. Good guy. Folks, not easy. He that was a tough race that he took out and proved, I think he proved that people, as I had said to him and just stated, and again, folks, good afternoon. This is the Real News at 125. We need more people running like that. As much as there's a lot of talk about the one-party state rule, which it is, Rhode Island and Mass. You know what? I don't hear anyone talking about that. I think there's an opportunity to convert some moderate Dems to run as Republicans. The Republicans, I don't think they're as far away as they think they are. And what I mean by that is the Republican caucus at the State House. I would really like to see some deal making where if they went to some moderate Dems, that's all it would take is some moderate Democrats to switch their affiliation and say, all right, now I'm a Republican, and give them plum job assignments and really tilt the balance of this thing. I think there's an opportunity because, as Chris said, folks, right now, and I was talking with someone about this, it is, what is the Democrat Party? The Democrat Party in Rhode Island is a bunch of people that listen to NPR and they watch MSNBC, and now they're all leaving the platform of X, and they're out of touch with how people feel. That's what I feel right now about. And as I have stated, folks, I mean, I'm not sure there's anyone more out of touch than Governor McKee. Think how deep he has gone in and committed on wind energy and the green economy. And there's no guarantee that that's going to be the path forward. President Trump is saying we have natural resource with oil. And in Pennsylvania, they're going to let them, and fracking. So I think we're an outlier. And I think it's wildly important to identify. It's one thing if you enjoy being an outlier. I think it's another thing if you're not recognizing and acknowledging that you're an outlier. And Governor McKee and Healy are outliers. Folks, this portion of the Real News is brought to you by AJ Home Improvement. Call them today, 401-323-9252. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings. They could build you a new home. additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They do it all. They're fantastic with acoustical ceilings that can change the feel and dynamic of a room. AJ Home Improvement. Call them today, 401 323 9252, 401 323 9252 for AJ Home Improvement. Now, I did receive a message from Kevin. Said he heard me speaking with my gun guy last Friday and wanted to know where is he located. He'd love to go in, purchase some firearms and ammo, and also get a chance to speak with George. Kevin, you want to stroll into Rhode Island Guns and Ammo, excuse me, Post Road in Warwick, right down from Route 37 and Greg's. It's Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. They're right near O'Reilly Auto Parts. George is fantastic. Folks, as you see, as I'm out there on a nightly basis, you have to find ways to protect yourself. You know, I was speaking with someone this morning. It's not your imagination. There's a rash. There used to be a band in Providence, the rash of stabbings. I knew those guys very well. Cities Rise to Fall, Bob Giusti, Bobby Heimers. And there has been. There's a lot of stabbings. So he is all at Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. They have all kinds of self-defense, whether it's pepper spray or whatever it is. But as much as they may feel, the McKee administration, they feel they're, we're taking the guns away from everybody. There's just such an influx of stabbings right now. But I want to touch on, Governor Healy, the governor of Massachusetts, was asked this morning, are you still going ahead with this whole wind farm thing? I know Rhode Island is, but Rhode Island, it's a scam because the companies that have signed on for it, they force them to only use unionized workers that's McKee being controlled by the unions. Folks, the thing about the unions taking control of things is I want you to just think of a restaurant. I think a restaurant's always a good analogy, but I want you to think of a restaurant, of the family that puts together a restaurant and what it takes to be successful, whether it's Kay's or whether it's Angelo's or whether it's Twin Oaks. I'm talking about a locally run restaurant. The thing about a restaurant is it's a grind and there's no shortcuts. They open and close. People open a restaurant, don't realize how tough it is, and then they close the restaurant. Restaurant industry, if you can get it up and going, it's one of those things. It looks easier than it actually is. But I just wonder of a restaurant owner, and many times it's a family, and the literally blood, sweat, and tears that they put in to a restaurant. Because if you don't know what you're doing with a restaurant, number one, if you don't have the right types of cooks, if you're not serving the right dishes, food gets spoiled, has to be thrown out. You could buy huge portions of things and then you can't just, you got to then throw it out. So you have to really have an understanding of what you're going to do if you're going to be successful. And you're up and running. And it took, years of going through this to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, someone comes knocking at your door and says, I'm your new partner. And I'm going to run all your employees. And we're now going to control them. And you have to deal with me when you want to deal with them. What individual owner would want to just, okay, even though I built this, even though we started with 4 tables and it was my family and 7 days a week and we had to, save our money and mortgage our house and all the hard work we put in. But I guess now I'll just hand it over to you to handle my employees. Who in their right mind would want to do that? And that's what's going on right now. As I have stated, I believe, there's several states that are not equipped for the change that's about to happen. And you're going to hear a lot about the federal waste as far as money. But what I don't see a lot, actually, I don't see at all. I remember Governor Kachiri talking about this 20 years ago. And it's gotten worse the levels went down, and then under Chafee, they started to go up. And then under Raimondo, they started to go up more. And then under McKee, it's been a free-for-all. Folks, their idea of economic development is you just create more state jobs. As I have stated, you don't need all those state jobs. The state workforce we are the same basic population as the state of New Hampshire and have double the workforce and double the state, budget. I'm telling you again, re-emphasizing, it's coming to an end. And I know actually they're not prepared to deal with it. I remember when Governor Kachiri, they started to not eliminate positions and lay off some state workers, and people were flipping out. But here's something that I don't hear anyone talk about. See, under Governor McKee, who just keeps giving them whatever they want. It's an unlimited ask. It is a bottomless pit. We want 10 more workers here. We want 10 more union workers here. We want 5 more union workers here. We want 10 more over there. And it just keeps going up and up. And with Governor McKee, what he doesn't realize is the more you do that, the less you're concerned about the private sector. But if you had a healthier private sector, then there'd be more jobs for people to go to. In healthy states, let me say this, in well-run states, people make a good living working for a private company in the private sector. And then maybe they say, for whatever reason, I'm willing to take a pay cut. No, I want to do public service, and I'll take a job with the state or city or town because I believe in service and I'm willing to do that. The whole thing of a job with the state or city and town used to be, it paid what it paid, but job security, no one ever gets fired, plenty of vacation, get the pension, blah, 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 healthcare. But as I've stated, and Justin Katz and I talked about this, but the problem now, a huge problem, is that the state jobs pay more than the private sector, and they've chased away so much of the private sector. If you had a healthy private sector in the state, then you wouldn't need to have all these people working for the state or all these cities and town jobs. But the real abuse is within the state. As far as the number of state workers, there are states that run successful. There are states that have a good model of local government. Rhode Island just doesn't have to be one of them. And by the way, Massachusetts and Connecticut, it's really the way the 3 states are run. But just talking about Rhode Island, you could get rid of 2,000 state workers and the state would not skip a beat. There's so much room to cut, but they just keep taxing and taxing. Everything is a money grab. The plan that President Trump has for the deportation, that's going to get a lot of coverage. Well, I know it's going to get a lot of coverage. But what people are missing is just when you have someone like Tom Homan out there and he's saying we're going to work on full family deportations. The whole family will be deported back to their home country. What people don't give the Trump administration credit for, what they don't give them credit for is what a deterrent that is. I mean, if you remember when Biden got in office and all those people it was the caravans start flooding in, a huge part of that was because Biden was then suddenly in office. If he's not in office and you have a President Trump, which we are going to, then you're going to have more of a deterrent. It just shouldn't be as easy. The other thing that I also want to mention, folks, and this portion of our program is brought to you by Kids Club. Ellen sent me a message. Ellen is looking for a spot to throw. She's going to organize her grandchild's birthday party. And I'm not sure exactly the age, but I think she said older than 5, but younger than 10. Kids Club on the Pike, Ellen. Perfect. Birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. You can find them on Facebook. You could call them as a matter of fact, at 401-443-5336. They're right on Plainfield Pike. They are located right on the Cranston-Johnston line. It's built and designed for children, to entertain children, to educate children, little tiny children, toddlers, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. All right, so your child, and you're going to throw a birthday party for them. Well, maybe you don't want them running around your house. You're going to go outside. All right, now they're running all over. Maybe they're running in front of the house. Put them in an area where the kids can enjoy in games and have an area where then they can eat. And you can have the little pizza and cake and so forth. It's safe. It's clean. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Contact them. You can look for them on Facebook. They have great videos, but it's perfect for children. And also, by the way, they have before and after school programs and preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. The thing about the state and the Democrat Party, first of all, the whole thing about Raimondo, going back to that, is I think this is more that Governor McKee could be signaling that he's not going to run for re-election. And here's his out a little bit. He has been, when this term is up, he will have been governor for 6 years. Remember, he took over March of 21. Now, right now it's November of 24. So let's do the math. So, 22, 23, 24. He's going to be governor coming up 4 years in March is when he took over for Gina. Then he is still going to be governor through 25 and 26. So in essence, almost a full 6 years. That's a lot. And what Governor McKee would have to decide is, does he want to do that for 4 more years? I don't know if he'd want to do that for 4 more years. I don't believe with the bridge situation, as I've been saying, he can't get past it. Governor McKee, no matter where he goes, a question that he's always asked is about the bridge. You know what else is another problem, folks? And I want to give credit. Tim White mentioned this on Channel 12. The state of Rhode Island is a very litigious the way they operate. For instance, with this bridge, they're suing everybody. And if you're a private contractor, is that really someone that you want to do business with? Do you want to do business with someone who sues everyone? A lot of business people say, I don't need that. I don't need that. I remember hearing a story about a contractor many years ago. I did. And if you check the Better Business Bureau, this guy didn't have complaints from 1 or 2 customers. He had complaints with every customer. This was a private, it's at least 10 years ago, but this was a private contractor. Every single job, there was a dispute over money, that he agreed to do X, Y, and Z for a certain amount, and then he would refuse to finish the job unless he got more. So even though people would say, okay, I will pay you whatever the amount is. I'll pay you $25,000 for that. And he would say, well, I want 30. And they'd say, no, okay, I'll do it for 25. So he would do most of the work, and then he'd hold out and say, unless you give me 30, I'm not finishing the job. So, after a while, obviously, people felt, who wants to do business? The answer is no one wants to do business with someone like that. And that is one of the problems you have with the bridge. But as far as Raimondo, I don't see it. She wants to run for president. Listen, whether or not you like former Governor, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, whether you like her, I like her, it's irrelevant, because she left being governor and for the past few years has had a spot in the national spotlight as big as it gets. You're at the White House meeting with the President of the United States. You're traveling abroad. You're the Commerce Secretary, and you're representing the United States. It's as big as it gets. I don't see someone that ambitious taking another role of like going backwards. And on top of that, then you're inheriting all the problems of McKee. And she is someone who wants to do something big. So I know people throw around, she could run any company. I don't know if she could run any company. She's certainly qualified to run some investment firms. I'm sure there's plenty of, hedge funds or things like that. She was a venture capitalist. So if you want to do something like that, or if wanted to, be the president of a university, but I just don't think you come back into the muck here. But my point is, I don't think anyone connected to the bridge gets elected. Because then you look at, okay, so let's just say McKee doesn't run. McKee realizes he can't win because of the bridge. Well, the two people waiting in the wings are Speaker Joe Shekarchi and the Secretary of State, Greg Amore. Now, you do have Helena Foulkes waiting in the wings. She beat McKee on Election Day. But they ballot stuffed and ballot harvest, and then they barely beat her by supposedly 3,000 votes, although I don't believe it. But my point is, as much as some people may say, well, we're going to go after Helena Foulkes, you're already losing Hasbro. Do you really want to go to war against CVS, where Helena Foulkes was the CEO, and risk alienating them and them packing up and leaving? And the way that you could expedite that would be if you start to attack Helena Foulkes based on CVS. I remember September of 2 years ago, 2022, when Governor McKee started to attack Helena Foulkes. And his commercial was she was pumping opioids into Rhode Island homes. And Tom Ryan, former CEO of CVS, he put out a statement, talked about how outrageous that was. CVS put out a statement. So my question is, if you're a smaller company in Rhode Island and you see Hasbro leaving, and then you see, whether it's McKee or someone else starting to attack someone like CVS, I would think if you're a smaller company, you're thinking, wow, if they're willing to attack CVS, what does that say? They certainly wouldn't hesitate to attack, a smaller company. So I don't know what's going to happen on the Republican side. But Helena Foulkes, listen, she ran a very good campaign, and she won the last two debates. And when all was said and done, she won at the polls the day of the election. The only reason she lost the primary was because of the unions, the special interest, went into all the assisted living and grabbed and stuffed ballots, which should be outlawed, and prevented her from that. But I want to come back to, I think anyone that has fingerprints attached to the bridge, I think they have big problems going forward. And folks, what right now, what I'm hearing and seeing from a lot of people in the Democrat Party, and whether you like it or not, in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, when the top elected officials are all Democrats, it affects everybody, unless they're going to start to change some policies. What I see are people that are just in denial, people that are angry. You haven't seen Governor McKee or Governor Healy, or in Connecticut, Governor Lamont. You haven't seen them said, maybe we need to rethink things. At the Rhode Island State House, it's like business as usual, full speed ahead. Massachusetts with these teacher strikes, like, this is ludicrous what's going on. People don't want this foolishness. People don't want the wokeness. People don't want, Steve becomes Stone, right? On Monday, he's a boy. On Tuesday, he starts wearing his hair in a ponytail, changes his name and says, I want to be on the girls' track team. I know I play boys lacrosse, but I don't really play a lot. So I'm going to grow my hair in a ponytail. I'm going to change my first name, change my pronoun, and now I'm going to play girls field hockey. And I get to go in the locker room with the girls. For some reason, people have a problem with that. I don't care what anyone says. It's and you heard Chris saying that it was the economy was such a huge deal here. I think in Rhode Island going forward, 26 could be a really pivotal election because you don't have a presidential election. You have all the major stakeholders, statewide leaders, and it's really an opportunity. Rhode Island and Mass can have to be shaken up. Rhode Island, here's the thing, folks, about Governor McKee and just the Rhode Island State House. They run as outliers. There are blueprints for how to run a successful state. Rhode Island and Mass don't follow that. There are states that are thriving, by the way. Florida is thriving. Tennessee is thriving. Texas is thriving. The Carolinas are thriving. Ohio is thriving. There are states that are thriving. You don't see any private sector money. It's all public projects. Boston is different. Boston has become an international city. Listen, Boston has things that Rhode Island doesn't have and never will have, starting with MIT and Harvard. And Boston is a different animal. The state is really going to be run into the ground. I don't hear any talk of local leaders of maybe we need to. If anything, you had Seth Magaziner going on national TV, poking his finger at President Trump. You have Governor McKee and Healy saying, I dare you to come in here and try to change our open border policy in sanctuary states. I'm telling you, it is coming to an end. They're going to cut off the funding. And the selfishness of it, of Governor McKee, he'd rather sacrifice you and me, Americans, taxpayers. He'd rather sacrifice you and make you suffer instead of all the new arrivals that he has announced can come in here and stay. Folks, this portion of our program, I know they had a huge weekend at the home show, and I'm not surprised. Dreammaker, Bath and Kitchen. Call them today, 401-433-7272. Beautiful design center located Greenwich Avenue in Warwick. If you're thinking of a new kitchen or bath, Dreammaker, Dennis and Christina, they're amazing. One-stop shop, take you from concept to completion. Are you thinking of improving your kitchen or bathroom? Well, Dreammaker, you're going to deal with respect, integrity, customer focus. Check out you're going to experience upgraded living with your bath or kitchen remodel today. Enhancing lives, improving homes. It's Dreammaker. Call them today, 401-433-7272 for Dreammaker. Well, folks, good afternoon. 1:51. That was something to see last night with the brush fire and so forth. But it's kind of going on everywhere right now. I'm seeing it's not just a Rhode Island type of thing. It's also going on in Massachusetts. It's going on in different parts of the world. I think the situation with the whole element with the illegals in Rhode Island, as I've been mentioning, you have Governor McKee has been poking his finger in the eye of the director of ICE. And folks, there's consequences for this stuff. But the Democrat Party, when you have in Massachusetts, Seth Moulton, he's a congressman, they're already talking about going after him. They're already talking about, we're going to primary you. We're going to run that guy out of office. What would he do? What would he have done? What do you have to do in order to have that type of reaction? All he said was, I don't like the fact that my two girls as a dad would have to compete with boys on an opposing team that identify as girls. And boom, that to them is like going to war. Now, I want to also just see some other stories let's see, 15-year-old charge, bringing BB gun to school. 15-year-old student in Cranston, felony charge, brought a BB gun to Cranston High School West. This was yesterday. They notified the school resource officer he may have a gun. The police officer found the student, took away a replica Glock, determined to be a BB gun. So it is considered a firearm because it can fire a metal projectile. No mention of the threat. Hey, that's where, with the police involved at the school, and remember the Democrat Party wants them out, that's when it works. What, all of these people that talk about get police out of the schools, what if you didn't have the police officer at the school? And it's a BB gun, but it looks just like a Glock. Neighbors relieved large brush fire in Cranston, spared homes. I was there last night. I didn't even see a potential of something like that, but nonetheless, this is interesting. Channel 10. Should states not get funding if they don't participate in Trump's deportation plan? Now that is interesting. That's the parent company that put out that and then sent it to all of their various stations and so forth. Let me just see where this is. Wow. It's all national stations, by the way. Do you think federal funding should be withheld from cities, states don't cooperate? Let's see. 10,000 votes. Let me see if I vote. Wow. 78% say yes. 22% say no. So President Trump confirmed they're going to declare a national state of emergency over illegals. Well, folks, again, those of you that watch Road Patrol know that it's something we deal with on a nightly basis. Now, I'm also seeing this. Pawtucket police said a man was arrested intercity chase on Monday night. A man drove to police headquarters to report an erratic driver had followed him to the station at 9:45. We had just missed this. The man stopped, checked on the well-being, gestured possession of a firearm. They attempted to conduct a traffic stop at the police headquarters, but the man fled the scene. They started a pursuit, continued to Central Falls. He was taken into custody for eluding, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct. But they don't mention that he had a firearm on him. He gestured he was in possession of a firearm. All right, we did not get that one. But those chases are only good if we're out on the road. I know that yesterday afternoon there was also a chase in a part of Providence, but they go so quick, and many times they cut off the chase for fear that the high-speed chases, somebody crashes, and then they blame the police. Folks, this portion of the program, if you're thinking of getting your driveway paved, J. Perry Paving, call them today, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience, specialized commercial paving, residential paving. If you would like to get your driveway paved or maybe your parking lot, call J. Perry Paving today. Request a quote, 401-732-1730, 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the real news. And I want to mention, I think it's interesting with the idea that President Trump could declare a national emergency in order to, achieve some of this. Now, as I've also stated, folks, where Rhode Island is truly in a difficult situation. I mean, New York has some Republicans that are in Congress. Rhode Island and Massachusetts, no Republicans hold either a congressional seat or state office. So there's no one in there at the table arguing for it or arguing or pleading the case or on the inside. As I have stated, I believe what's really going to happen here in the new session coming up at the Rhode Island State House, the elected Republicans, they have to, it behooves them, it's incumbent on them to make the case to start to try to straighten out our voting situation. Because folks, our voting situation right now, unless something changes, organized labor, they feel that they have the winning formula and that they're never going to lose another statewide election. Now, 2026, 2 years from now, why is that significant? That will be the 20-year anniversary since the last time a Republican won statewide, and that was Governor Carcieri. And the last time a Republican won a congressional seat was 1992 with Congressman Ron Makeley. So, because then it was the Kennedy seat, and then there were various Democrats in CD2. Well, folks, listen, enjoy this beautiful Tuesday. We will be doing Road Patrol Live later. We'll see what develops. In the meantime, if you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Again, everybody on Facebook, be watching later for Road Patrol Live. It's a nice Tuesday. Get out there and enjoy yourselves on this Tuesday, and we'll see you later on Road Patrol Live.